Good morning, East Africa, and welcome to your world this Wednesday morning. Now, this morning we focus on a conversation that most would rather have in hushed tones. I'm talking about single parenthood. Whether by choice, divorce, or as a result of death, single parents are part and parcel of society. So this morning we hear from some of them and get to know their joys and pains in this journey. My name is Gladys Gashanje, and this is what else you can expect. As I mentioned, we focus on the journey of single parenthood, the challenges and the joys therein. The world is changing. More and more countries and employers are granting fathers a longer paternity leave. Vietnam's food supply is dwindling, causing food insecurity around the globe. We find out how.
And the idea of study was to address the needs of what we call medium to small enterprises.
And we shall shift focus on the last leg of the show to talk about how borrowing money more responsibly can work to really boost your business. So. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Our question of the day to you is, are you a single mom or a single dad? What are some of your best or difficult moments in this journey? Share your experience using that hashtag new normal. Remember, you can find us on our social media handles, and of course, you can reach us using that number at the bottom of your screen. But before we get to that focus of the day, let's take a look at the effects of COVID-19 around the world. And this morning, that number stands at 55,940,145 confirmed cases of COVID-19 around the world. Out of that number, 38,960,377 people have totally recovered from the same, and we have lost 1,343,153 people to COVID-19 globally. In Kenya, that number stands at 71,729 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country. Out of that number, 47,262 have totally recovered from the same. And unfortunately, we have lost 1,302 Kenyans to COVID-19. That number seems to be pushing up by the day. And again, we remind you to not drop your guard and keep wearing your masks, washing your hands, and of course, exercising physical, social distancing. And as we think about COVID-19, let's take also a look at those stories making headlines across the world. And African leaders tried Monday to kickstart talks in Ethiopia's escalating internal conflict 2 days after rocket strikes on Eritrea's capital highlighted the risk that the fighting could spread. Uganda President, that is Yoweri Museveni, held talks with Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen, while former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo headed to Addis Ababa to make his bid for dialogue. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced November 4th he had ordered military operations in Tigray in a dramatic escalation of a long-running feud with the region's ruling party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Now, hundreds of people are reported to have been killed so far in the conflict in Africa's second most populous country, some in a massacre documented last week by Amnesty International. More than 25,000 Ethiopians have fled into Sudan, according to officials. In a sun-baked and dusty wasteland in remote eastern Sudan, crew and laboring to rebuild a refugee camp for the 25,000 people who have fled heavy fighting in neighboring Ethiopia's Tigray region. Exhausted and terrified men, women and children from the conflict zone have struggled against searing heat and hunger to escape ground fighting, airstrikes, rocket fire and artillery barrages in northern Ethiopia. Sudan, one of the world's poorest countries, now faced with a massive influx, has reopened its Rakoba camp 80 kilometers from the border. The camp once housed refugees who fled Ethiopia's 1983 to 85 famine that killed over 1 million people. So far, only basic emergency relief has been set up at the isolated camp located amid abandoned fields some 10 kilometers from the nearest village. After months of refusing to testify, South Africa's ex-president, that is Jacob Zuma, appears before a panel probing rampant state corruption during his 9-year reign. Now, the 78-year-old did not give any evidence on the graft allegations, but lodged an application requesting the head of a judicial commission to recuse himself, accusing him of prejudice.
Although Mr. Zuma and I have a cordial relationship, and have over the years interacted with each other pleasantly wherever we met, mostly in government functions, Mr. Zuma's statement that we are friends is not accurate.
Of bias, and it's not just a selection or not.
If you force me to bring him here without the climate being created for him to believe that he's not being judged, well, I'll put him there, Chair, and he'll exercise his rights to say nothing.
And our submission is that these grounds for recusal are simply without merit. Even if taken cumulatively, no reasonable person would apprehend bias when observing the conduct and record of the Commission.
Because it only got. I am going to use the evening and the night to consider all these submissions that have been made by both sides. The idea will be to try and arrive at a decision as soon as possible.
Elsewhere in Sweden, where parental leave policy is among the most generous in Europe, fathers have a minimum of 3 months at their disposal, but only half take full advantage of it. There are many advantages for the relationship with the child, says Alexander, a young Swedish father, as he walks around with his 10-month-old son Oliver in his pram. But family policy researcher Ann-Sofie Devander says traditional gender roles means families in Sweden are still not dividing time equally.
I don't know how many advantages, but there's many. First of all, the relationship, the connection with the child, I think is much better than probably a lot of other countries that don't have as much paternal leave. Because I get to spend so much time with him alone. I get to feed him, take care of him, change diapers, everything. So I think our connection is much better than it would have been if I didn't have as much parent leave. And then more countries should be able to do as we do, because now we also get to be a father figure for real, not just somebody who's off working and come home to punish a lazy child or something. Somebody's waking up.
And I think it's great, yeah, it gives big flexibility. You don't have to kind of stay behind on your career. For women, they don't have to stay all time at home and lose opportunities at work. And the same for the fathers. They can spend time with their children. And I need to go back to work. I don't want to lose my career, and I want to continue working. And of course, often I think employers expect that you are gone like not more than a year, then because the remaining period it's a father's time.
We don't have gender equality fulfilled in Sweden. So regarding the parental leave, there's still mothers who use most of the leave. I think mothers use about 70% of all days. Fathers use about 30%. So if you ask the parents themselves, they would say that they don't divide it equally because they cannot afford it. That's what parents often say. I think, though, that one needs to think about also the traditional gender roles that are still going on.
And that kind of gives us an idea of the conversation we're having today, rather. And this one is actually focusing on single parenthood, the experience, and of course, the ups and downs that comes with being a single parent. Now, to help us understand this journey better, in studio with me, Jackie Kerr, who is a life coach, a counselor, a psychologist, and the founder of Blended Family Network. She'll tell us more about that in a moment. In the other studio, we have Amani Maranga, who is a podcaster, Living Truthfully podcast. Yes, he's a guy behind it. And he is a co-parenting dad. He's been very specific about that title, and he'll tell us why in a moment. And joining us virtually is Maureen Kambona. She is a single mom. Thank you for your time. And also virtually joining us is Muriuki and Grace Kinoti, who actually can be tagged as a blended family. They'll tell us their journey in a moment. Thank you all for joining us on this conversation. And I'll start off with you, Jackie. Perhaps at this point, let's first define what single parenthood is.
Single parenthood is the parenting journey that you are actually doing the parenting alone. Because to make a baby takes two. So you become parents. But when you're a single parent, most of the responsibilities are yours, and you're taking the journey of parenting your child alone. This could be because of divorce, death, unfulfilled promises, because somebody just didn't stand up to the plate. It's because of several reasons, though there are some today who make a conscious decision to become single parents. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And there are those couples that separate or go their separate ways, but still find their way to cater for their children together, but separately.
Yes.
So is that still a single arrangement?
No. Because they have co-parenting, they have a parenting arrangement, which is not just defined by one person. So we don't, I wouldn't classify them as a single parent because they have a co-parenting agreement. And this co-parenting agreement will go on even after one of them gets married. This parenting agreement will go on. Because I always tell people there are no ex-children. And there are no ex-parents. So some parents have actually stepped up to the plate and take care of their children no matter what. Whether because the relationship that they had, the ship has sunk. The relationship is not there, but the parentship never ends. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yes. Let's bring in Amani, who is very particular about saying he's a co-parenting dad. Now, you are divorced. You've been very, very honest and forthright about how you got there. Would you care to share your experience briefly?
Thank you, Glado, for having me. And I think, let me first agree with Jackie about what she has defined as a single parent and a co-parenting parent, because I feel like I really sit in the category of a co-parenting parent. I share the parenting journey with the mother of my children, and so my children have the full benefit of both parents. And so even though we live separately, we make parenting decisions together. We make almost all parenting decisions together. I mean, obviously there's some that are made by her, by herself when she's with the children, but I don't think there's any major decision that we have made that has not been a consultative decision. And so I'm privileged to have a great co-parent for my children. And so that's why I feel that better defines me than single parenting.
Okay, and you are divorced. It definitely something that now puts you apart from your partner. A little bit about that journey.
Well, you know how it is when marriage happens and you make whatever decisions that get you to a place of divorce. Mine has actually been evolving, and I'd actually want to encourage people to listen to the podcast. But I was married for 7 years. My marriage sort of came to a grind in 2014. And so I've been living apart for the last 6 years and divorced for the last 3.
Okay, now let's bring in somebody who is a single mom in this conversation, Maureen Kambona. Thank you for joining us. And briefly, what is your journey?
Okay, so first of all, because of the definition, let me also make a correction. The father of my child is definitely present in his life. I am the primary caregiver. I have been since he was born. We've never been together ever. So I've been with my child alone since he was born. So then that makes me then a co-parent, although I'm the primary caregiver. The journey has been tough, to be honest, to get to where we are as co-parents, to get to where we are in terms of our relationship as mom and dad. It has been a very, very interesting, challenging, but also interesting journey to where we are now. And I can give the main thing is that one, we've kept the child as the main focus in this journey. And then the second thing is maturity, to be honest, because my child is 9 years old and it has taken us 9 years to develop the relationship we have. And it just keeps on getting better and better. So the father is now like a family member. I don't know, it's a weird dynamic. It's more of I don't know if he's a brother or
a relative.
Yes, he's like a relative, because his family is my family and my family is his family, because the child has brought us together, but we do not have like a personal relationship. So I think the main focus, we focused on the child, and that's what helped us build to where we are now.
Okay, now Amani's case and Maureen's case is what everyone out there would actually say. If you're doing it alone, you're not together with your partner, you're a single parent. But what we're defining is, as long as the other partner is in their lives in terms of the children, then you're co-parenting. So would you introduce yourself as, I'm a single parent, or no, I'm single?
You would introduce yourself as a single parent also, because you have a child. That is just for clarity, especially if you meet somebody and you need to define it. I mean, so that they know who you are and what you come with. I am a single parent. And in this single parent journey, I am also co-parenting. So the father or the mother of my child is also in my life, but in the co-parenting sense. But I come as a single parent because of a child. So it's, I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, because we needed to clarify that they are single in their status.
Yes. But I'm taking care, the responsibility of taking care of my child is shared with the parent of my child. Yes. And this is not going to change because it will go on, because I mean, a parent is a parent forever. So this co-parenting thing is permanent. But the single parenthood might not be permanent. Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're about to bring in Muriuki and Grace Kinoti, who actually are a blended family.
Okay.
And as we said, you're the founder of Blended Family Network. Tell us more about that.
The Blended Family Network is something that I founded because there are no spaces for blended families to speak. There's a lot of negative stereotypes about step families. And even the storybooks that we read, there's no step family that ends with, and they lived forever happily thereafter. So there's a lot of stigma, and it's complex. Life in a blended family is complex. A blended family is a family where one or both of the adults in the relationship came with a child or children from previous relationships. So it's a family that has step parents and step children. So the blended family network, our mission is actually to support people in blended families to build emotionally healthy, balanced family relationships for each and every member of that family. That is what I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And I needed you to identify what a blended family is because, again, Muriuki and Grace Kinoti make one. Now, Grace, your journey before you got married to Muriuki was that of a single mother for 10 years. Tell us more about that.
Yes, I got pregnant at 19. So I became a single mom as a teen mom. And the father to my baby decided I'm not ready to be a father now. He was a year older, he was 20. And so that what led me to become a single mom for the past 10 years of my daughters since birth. Now she's 17, but when she turned 10, I met this amazing man who accepted me with my child.
Okay, and at that point, how was that journey doing life with your daughter for 10 years alone?
Wow, it was fun and painful, and the painful process was when at the early years when you're just alone, the baby's crying, you don't have someone to help you, and in times when the baby wants something and you are operating on a single income, there's no one helping you to supplement what the needs of the child are. It was quite a roller coaster of a journey, but I had a good support system, which was my parents and the community around me who helped step in when I needed help. And my dad actually stepped in terms of being the father figure to my child, and she's also referred to him dad to date. So she's never felt she's missed anything with her real father being out of her life.
And we'll talk more about the importance of father figures in a moment. Now, Muriuki, you met this beautiful woman with a 10-year-old child and you instantaneously became a parent. How was that?
So picture this, a bachelor who in a span of a few months turned his bachelor pad into a place that's occupied by 4 people. So my wife, our daughter, and our help. So for me, that was it was a shocker first. Just that was a bit of a shake-up in my life, but I've loved it. I've loved the journey so far. We've really grown so close with our daughter. I really love her to tears. It took a while for us to really get to connect and get to understand each other and be able to, really be in a position where she understands me, I understand her, and really get along.
Now, we are talking about stepchildren, stepdads, stepmoms. Is that a term that you use in your relationship?
No, we don't. We don't. And I think maybe it's where it all started. I remember just before when we started dating, we used to involve her a lot in our engagements. Either we are going on dates, we'd go with her. If we're taking some time off on a holiday, we'd go with her. So we'd already started connecting even before we got married. I remember even the night when I was engaging, I was going to go engage Grace. I had a conversation with her and I told her, and I asked her if she wanted us to be a family. And I explained to her what I was going to do. So I think she's felt part of the process all along. And for us, we've not had that kind of awkward moment of stepdad or stepdaughter.
Okay, and I asked this, Jackie, because there are people who are very comfortable with that term. Because it's like, you're my cousin, you're my uncle, so you're my stepfather, and it's fine with it. So is it something that you can consciously use and it doesn't really, put an edge in your relationship, or rather a wedge in your relationship? Or how do you handle this to ensure that it's actually a blended family and you're not feeling it's somebody else who came into the fold?
The word, the step family, a stepmom, a step parent is just a word that defines what the parent, how the parent came into the family. We as the society have stigmatized the word. It's not the word that has a problem. It is the meaning behind it. Immediately I say I'm a stepmom, I'm wicked. I must be evil.
From the storybooks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is socialization that has made the term bad, but the term is not bad. At home, most of the step families and blended families, we don't call each other, oh, my stepchild, come and...
Yeah.
No. It is a term we use when we define our relationship to somebody else who may need to understand, and if there's need for them to understand that this is my stepchild. But we don't define, and I'm saying we because I think I didn't say that I'm in a step family. I've been a stepmom for the last 19 years. And that is why, for me, the passion of having a platform for people in step families to come and just feel safe and have resources that will support them to build well-balanced families was so important for me. So in the step family unit, nobody calls them each other step. No. But it is a term that I may need to use when I meet you and we were in school and you're wondering, hey, Jackie, how come you have a 23-year-old today? Then I might need to explain it. You can also choose what name to be called as a step parent. Don't force children to call you mom and dad because they have a mom and dad. That is why I am a step mom, not a replacement mom. So you can choose what name to be called as a step mom, so that it can be, it is okay also for the child. They're not feeling like you're here to replace my mom, and it is also okay for you. You're not feeling disrespected. There are stepmoms who are called by their names. There are some who are called auntie. Kamala Harris is a stepmom called Momala. That is the name they decided. Yeah.
Okay, yes. We needed to actually clarify that. And Morioki, I am curious to know, have you ever introduced your daughter as a step, or you just say, this is my daughter, she says, this is my dad?
Dad, daughter term. I've never really referred to it as a stepdaughter or a stepfather.
Excellent. Now, I'm sure it took a while for you to get to where you are. So let's start off with Hermione. We're talking about the joys and pains of this journey, that you're parenting together but apart. Tell us the joys of that to an extent.
I think the joys of parenting. Thank you, Gladys. And first, allow me to say two things. One, I want to really affirm Jackie on that also blended family situation, because I'm a product of one. And, you know, I grew up trying to define my parents. And so, you know, I just wanted to agree with her that you need to allow the children to call you whatever they call you as they develop. And to also say that, you know, Morioki and Grace are my friends, and I'm in a group with Morioki as guys, and I've never heard him refer to his daughter as a stepdaughter. You know, he's a doting father, and, you know, I really appreciate that about him. The joys of parenting are the same across the board. I don't think it changes when you become a co-parent. For me, the experience has been that, you know, co-parenting, even though I think we were intentional parents before we started living apart, co-parenting sort of heightened the gap for me. And I was able to, I started feeling that I needed to, you know, put more time, more effort, more, you know, intentional conversations with my children when I'm with them, because the time is, you know, sort of limited. And I mean, for the joys, I can't tell you how rewarding it is to have children that love you, have children that identify with you as their parent, have children that you can be friends with. My daughter is 13, my son is 11 now, and we are friends. You know, we are competing on PlayStation games. We are cracking jokes, and they don't like mine right now very much. I'm not very popular with my dad jokes, but I mean, it's such a joy spending time with these kids, cooking together, doing activity together. I think dads should create experiences for their children, we are the fun parent. That's what I keep saying. And so I don't know how to explain, but it's a lot of fun.
I hear you, Amani, but definitely somebody listening to you, they're thinking it wasn't always this rosy. You had to intentionally get to where you are today. So what were these rough patches that you maturely thought through to a point where you are today?
Let me start with before we went apart. Because I think that created the foundation for us. I think when my daughter was like a year old, we realized that we had different parenting styles. Our parenting styles, I mean, like for example, their mom had never been beaten by her parents. I, on the other hand, used to have running battles with my mother, like campus students in the GSU. So we realized we had different parenting styles. And so what we did is we did a parenting class together. And as a result of doing that parenting class together, we formed a singular parenting philosophy. So by the time we were going apart, for us, the honest truth is we didn't have challenges co-parenting. Our children went through trauma because they watched their parents go through, you know, their lives separate, and you know, that was traumatic for the children. But the one thing that I credit their mom for is that we never used the children as a weapon. And so we worked together to support them through that transition. Yes, we had awkward conversations between me and her. You know, sometimes, you know, you're trying to figure out how do we co-parent without meeting, because I mean the relationship wasn't at best at that beginning part of living separately. But I think we quickly got through that as we also healed through our journey. And now, I mean, there are moments when you see us together. My dad, who is actually my stepdad, but the guy I call dad, told me the other day, about 2 months ago, he said he saw us together and he said, "I cannot believe you guys are divorced. You're such good friends."
Wow, wow. And I'm sure that is an encouragement to many that are probably on the same journey as you are. Let me hear from Maureen. You say that your co-parenting with the father of your child, it was a journey, one that called for maturity. Talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so when we started, when the child was, let's say 4 years and below, or even 5 years and below, I felt like I was alone, to be honest. Mostly because I think men don't usually know what to do with young or babies. So babies are mostly dependent on their mom, because I mean that's where the food is from. That's who changes your diaper. That's the person who, when you want comfort, I mean it's the mom. So he was there, but he wasn't there a lot. And since we decided to be apart from the time the child came. And it was a very hard journey in the sense of trying to get our footing in terms of what is your business and what is not your business. By this, I mean, because I decided to date when my child was, I think, close to 2 years. I decided to start dating, and that was a very difficult experience to start with. Because of territories. I mean, change is not an easy thing for any human being. So with that, then I had to be assertive. I had to be assertive, and I had to be very clear as to what is allowed and what is not allowed. And on this other side also, I had to be clear, or he had to be clear on his role and what he agrees and what he does not agree on. So we had to just respect each other in that sense. In terms of personality, I think I'm a very strong-willed person. I'm sure Grace knows me very well. So I think I'm a very strong-willed person. And so when I want to drive a point across, I will drive it. And so I think that really helped. But also, he's also a very assertive person as well, but he's also more calm than I am. That's the father. He's more calm than I am. So there's some things, of course, he'll take a step back, and there's some things that he will go ahead and do and say, no, this is the way we are going. So it's a give and take. relationship that we have. And it was difficult. There were, as you said, not battles, but there were disagreements and banging of doors and not seeing each other for a month, avoiding how am I going to co-parent without having to see the parent, there was all that, as Amani says. I mean, but by the time it was reaching a certain point, we just decided, I think it's either you get tired or you have an epiphany and you just let things go and you're there because of the child. Another thing is that the family, a supporting unit. So my family and his family got along so well with the both of us. So that comfort or that unity amongst our families also helped us to just focus on and then also I'm going to say this because I'm not trying to attack anybody, but men, if men make a decision to be part of their children's lives, I think it becomes an easy conversation when it comes to co-parenting. If you've separated or you've had a child and you didn't have, I mean, you're not going to get married or anything of that sort. But then on this other side, if women decide to not make it their issue and make it the child's issue in terms of their well-being, what is good for the child, then
Did we lose you there? Okay, but we hear you, Maureen, and you're still there, yes?
Oh, sorry. I'm saying if women decide that it's about the child and they don't put their issues and emotions, because we're emotional beings, yes? So if we decide that it's about the child, then it's a simple conversation. It's a simple arrangement that is very possible for anyone. I think that's where the maturity comes in.
Okay, and speaking about maturity and looking at these children as not bait, and that the two of you don't see eye to eye, but the children are the common denominator. Yeah. Talk about that and how people can be able to exercise this.
I agree with what she's saying. And when we talk about maturity, what I would say is most of the time we become single parents because of in a painful way. Divorce is painful. Death is painful. If this guy makes you pregnant and they run away, it's painful. So single parenthood comes with pain. For me, I think maturity is you knowing that you need to heal yourself first from the pain of what you have experienced. Accept, acknowledge, heal yourself. Then you can be a better parent, you can be a better co-parent, and you can also be a better self, a better person. So most of the time, kids become bait to heal our unhealed wounds. And we forget that we are using our kids to fight as weapons of war, to get to the other parent, which is so unfair because the people who hurt most are the kids. Kids who are used as baits, kids who are alienated because their parents were alienated. And alienation, an alienated parent is that parent that one co-parent has decided to use the kid and is going to make the kid not like you. So they will say all the bad things about you. They'll make sure you don't see them even if you have rights to see them. When you come to see them, they have activities to do. So they're going to make sure that you suffer, you don't see your kid. But if you see your kid does not like you that much because of what they have heard about their father or their mother. If you find yourself as an adult doing this, using your child as a weapon, it means that you are hurting. You need to heal because you're hurting your child in the process. And in their adulthood, they're going to struggle with life. They're going to struggle with relationships because of you. Yeah.
Okay, and speaking about pain, Grace, 10 years alone with your daughter. The father said he wanted nothing to do with the two of you. That must have been a lot to carry. And then here comes Morioki. Were you that receptive to that whole idea of dating again?
Yes, it was painful. It took me a while to actually find love again, or actually even trust any man for that matter. And before I met Edwin, yes, I dated when Amy turned, 2 years? And it was still trying to see, are all men like the man of the father of my child, or is he different? What's different about what bring it to the table that is different from what was offered then? And it didn't mature. The promises, you know, unfulfilled promises, unmet expectations. But then I took also a break from dating and just decided, you know what, let me heal first as an individual, just like what Jackie is saying, and the pain, so that I don't subject every other man who comes after me with the wounds of my previous heartache. And so it took me a while to just take time out and heal and pray about it. And even when I met Edwin, I told God, we had a conversation. I told God, if this is a man, you have to show me a sign, either right on the wall, you know, or
Burning bush.
burning bush, perhaps, so that I know that this is the man who will, one, accept me for who I am with my child, and will not see my child as another man's child, but he will love me together with her. And that's exactly what he showed me. He loved me, he loved God, and I knew this is it for me.
Grace, when you say you took time to heal, did you seek professional counsel, or did time just heal the wounds?
I actually did. Together with my mother, she helped me walk this journey with her friends, some of her single mother friends. And I mean, seeing them also doing it and making it as single moms and also transitioning to get married gave me also some sort of encouragement that I don't have to stay alone forever. And it doesn't mean because I have a child with someone else, no one else will accept me with my child. I also sought counseling from the pastors in our church. So it's been a lot of talking and having people around you to encourage me that it's not the end. It doesn't mean you'll not get to have a family unit, because I admire the family because I come from a very stable family of both parents being present. So having the idea of raising a child alone was not sitting well with me. So there are moments I'd feel lonely and I'm like, this child really needs someone she calls her own father and not my dad as her father. And hence why I said, you know what, let me seek help to be better, so that by the time this person is coming, they're not dealing with my baggage of issues from my past relationship.
And I love the fact that you use the word baggage. And Jackie, at this point, the question is, when is the baggage good enough for you to handle somebody else? When are you ready? Because if you noticed, both Kambona and Grace actually said they tried out the dating at 2 years to see if it's going to work. So when do you tell you're good for this again?
I think I wouldn't say there's a standardized time limit, but you know you have healed when you're okay with what happened to you. And I'm talking about when you're okay does not mean that you're saying it was right. That it happened, I accept, I acknowledge. It's not a trigger anymore. Yes, I am safe. When you feel safe with yourself and with everything that happened to you. So the time that it will take for me to get there, the time that will take you to get there is different. But also, I just want to put a disclaimer, time does not heal. Time on its own does not heal. We are seated here, we've packed down there. If I had a puncture, if I got down there, the puncture is still waiting. Yeah. Time on its own does not heal. It's what you do with the time that will heal. Like she says, she talked to her mother, other single moms who were her mother's friend, counsel from the pastors. It is what you do with time that will make a difference. So this is a process where you need to be so intentional, and as a parent, put the oxygen mask on yourself so that you can be a better mom. Otherwise, even, you know, the way we are always told, save yourself first and then you can save the people next to you. So put the oxygen mask on yourself and then you can be a better parent and a better co-parent. So be intentional about seeking healing because you know the wounds that you have come out with from that relationship. Yeah.
Amani, we've talked about the ladies and they said they tried out their dating. Is this something that you have tried?
Can I plead the fifth?
No.
So it's very difficult dating as a divorced person because you can, let me distinguish between the word baggage and package. So I feel like baggage is when you're the pre-healing stage. okay? So whatever your situation was with the other parent of your child, that's not a healed situation, that's baggage, okay? So how you feel about your child, that's baggage. When you go through healing, I feel like that transitions from a baggage to a package. So I come with a package. I come with children and I come with a co-parent. That's not easy for someone who's coming in, especially if they have not experienced the same. I find that when you meet a single lady who has never been married, never had a child, they find that my package is a lot. And so it's not been an easy situation. So I've decided to wait. If she comes, she comes. If she doesn't, there's time. The beauty about being a guy is that we don't have an expiry date. So.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's true.
I have a feeling you will get into a lot of trouble with that statement.
What I mean, and maybe to put it this way, is that we don't feel the pressure of time. We don't feel that if I don't get married by a certain date, then my chances start to diminish. I actually feel like our chances are the same, whether I'm 40 or 50 or 60. And so I'm not feeling the pressure of time. I'm spending this time raising my children, doing what I feel is now my purpose. And when she comes, she comes.
Okay, somebody is saying nice save, Amani, nice save. Jackie, package versus baggage. I love the way he's distinguished that. But then again, as you're saying, society looks at you a certain way when you come with a certain package.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. And whatever he's saying, however, it might sound bad, but he's right. A man with 10 kids can still have a single girl to marry. A woman with 1 child is looked as tainted. So a single mother's probability at times to get married, the society, especially in Africa, could be more difficult than a man who has 7 kids. They can get a single girl to marry them. So it might sound bad, whatever Amani is saying, but it's actually our society and socialization. Yeah. So I like what he says, baggage and package. Baggage, baggage is heavy and it's difficult to deal with. And baggage here, as he says, it's the unhealed places in ourselves that we need to heal. And baggage, nobody can help you carry them if it is your unhealed wounds. You may need to do this journey alone and fix it. Even if I'm there to support you, I'll just support you and take you to somebody to help you still look at them and fix them. So I might just be as somebody to push you along, but the tough work, you need to do the job. Package is me as a person, yes, healed, but still, even though I'm healed, I come with my weaknesses and strengths. That is a package individually. And as a single parent, I also come with kids. That is a package that I come with. And that is why you find at times single mothers taking children to Oshago so that they can get married. If you don't know how to define your package well and also acknowledge it and accept it, then you will find yourself in such situations that you take your child home and then come to stay in Nairobi, or so that you can get married because this guy has told you, no, sitaki mtoto. Kama ungekuwa tu peke yako ningekuoa. So they take the child to mom. Some have children at home and this guy does not know that that child is theirs because the child also calls me Jackie and calls mom, mom. So there are so many children today in our society who are actually growing up in rejection. They feel dejected when they see their siblings coming from Mombasa or from Nairobi, because you see the kids that I will give birth to with this man will be their siblings, and they can see rejection, abandonment. It actually affects them to their adulthood. So as much as the society makes it tough for us as single parents, not as single moms, not to get married, or there's a lot of stigma around it, I think as women, as a single mom, you need to accept yourself, acknowledge yourself, and have boundaries. with what you can say yes to and what you can say no to.
Very well said. And I'd like to hear from Maureen before we take a short break. You said at 2 years, when the baby was 2, you started dating, and you're always very clear about the things that you want. Did you find yourself struggling, trying to put your package out there?
Definitely, of course. I think first of all, it was as Jackie says, is the acceptance. It's the acceptance that you are a mom and you are a single mom. You have a baby, you come with a baby. So as you're dating, you must state. I've never understood, and maybe it's because maybe I don't have is it the empathy? I've never understood women who would hide their children from this person who they want to be with, because the child is a part of you. And if this person does not accept a part of you, then what makes you think that he'll accept everything about you? You see, and that's where also I always say, and I think I always tell my friends, that children don't choose the parents. They don't go to God and say, okay, God, you know what? Kambona looks like a good mom. That's the one I want. No. That's not what happens. What happens is I chose to have this child. And therefore, it's my responsibility to ensure that the child feels wanted, loved, secure, and everything is provided for by this child. That's an obligation in itself. That is a responsibility you have. Mm-hmm. The same way you have a responsibility when you sign a contract at work and you have to go 8 to 6, and you have deliverables and you're expecting a salary in the end. That's an agreement. So for you, you choose. So therefore, you must always have this child. So it was a difficult conversation, but again, the person who I started dating accepted the child, and they have a really good relationship right now. Although there's a clear boundary of who is who. Also, that's really important. And as Jackie says, boundaries are very important. They're important, boundaries between co-parents, and also boundaries in terms of if the parent is involved and you have another partner. It is important to have the different conversations of what roles are being played where. The dynamics may be difficult, but once you get that footing, it is important. It becomes an easy thing. And this is where, in my case, my boyfriend and the father had a conversation. Oh. And they had a conversation about, and they had a conversation about the child, and they came to an agreement of who, as in terms of what goes where and who says what and what rules, etc. That I told them, this is about the child. It's you to go and have that conversation and come to an amicable agreement. I think men's conversations, communication is totally different from how we communicate. Mm-hmm. So I guess I found that it would be easier because they understand each other. They have that bro code or whatever it is people call it. And they had that conversation, and Okay. And I must say I've been lucky. Yeah, I've been very lucky,
Yeah, luck actually is one of the things that I'm hearing. There are many who cannot say that their circumstances are like yours, but we thank God you're in this conversation to give hope to others who are in the same shoes with you. I hear responsibility. I hear the fact that you have to put boundaries, and we'll talk about that right after a short break and hear from Morioke, because again, even as we are talking about society looking at single mothers a certain way, Morioke decided to still love and marry Grace. Let's hear from his perspective right after this short break. But before we get to it, I'm being told we have some feedback even as we asked you earlier on, what are your experiences, joys and pains as a single mom or a single dad? Anjiro Talia says, my best moments is being with my kids and assisting them to study, seeing how bright their mummies amuses them most. Difficult moments are when I have to go away from them for a couple of months and control everything remotely. Wanjiro, we hear you. The life of a single working mom. Mamake Newton says, being with my kids for a whole year and being their teacher. Interesting. Odhiambo Ara says, there is no double mom or double dad. Dad is dad and mom is mom. Okay. Murithi Faith says, my best moments is being a mom and a great friend to my children, a mother of 2 teens. Thank you, Faith, for sharing. Wala Akish says, hardest moments are when I can't explain why dad never comes home like the other dads. Best moments, rather, are when I'm able to provide all other stuff that other kids have. We hear you, Wala. Sophie says, I'm a single mom and my most difficult moment while raising my now teen, almost 20, is the fact that he wants lots of freedom, claiming he's a man, which I cannot offer. It ends in premium tears, being described as a strict mom. It's all right, I'm fine, as long as you are still under my care, my friend. I will make the rules and you will follow. Na kama sivyo, tembeza miguu nani. Now, I have read that in Swahili and mother tongue because we've had that from our mothers most often than not. And Mamu Melody says, being there and being strong for my kids. Thank you, Anne. Daisy says, my best time is to see my daughter pressing on in life. Thank you, Daisy. Jane Juguna says, what a single mother goes through cannot be highlighted here. How do you tell the world that there are times you feel like God has left you? We hear you, Jane. No, but Njoroge says, if you can't raise a child together, you are mature enough to sort your issues and get back to marriage. Co-parenting is a fallacy. Is it really? Because we are seeing positive cases here. Kairetu says, when you go on outings with kids, with both parents present, and your kid feels weird and asks you when she will get a dad. Kairetu, I'm sure you speak for so many other single mothers. Oliver Catella says, when my daughter started getting her monthlies, crying face was difficult. Had to call my sister, which brings in the role of father figures and mother figures. We'll get to that right after the short break. Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gashanja. This morning, we are talking about the joys and pains of single parenthood. We still have Jackie K in studio, Amani Maranga in the other studio. We have Maureen Kambona joining us virtually, and of course, Muriuki and Grace Kinoti still virtually with us. Muriuki, we have seen a society that most guys would say, I cannot take you with your package, because some say, watoto ni wa mwanaume mwingine. But for you, you decided Grace as she came is how you would love her. Why?
So a number of things. I mean, she's very attractive.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, so, and I was asked a lot of questions by many people who know Grace and know that she had a child. And guys were like, yeah, she has a child. And I'm like, that's not the reason why I'm getting together with her. I'm getting together with her because I love her. And and I think going through the process that single parents will go through, the healing process, gives them some sort of confidence about themselves and how they carry themselves. They don't come in and their wounds are affecting your relationship. So that's one thing that really Grace projected when we got together. And for me, it actually never occurred to me that there's a child, you need to take care of a child. I was like, it's a blessing. It's just a blessing to have a wife and a child. You get blessed to have a wife and a kid. So for me, I took it a lot more as a blessing. I didn't look at it as a baggage. It was a fantastic package for me. I got married and immediately started parenting, which really accelerated my maturity from a parenting perspective. Being able to parent a 10-year-old girl for me was, I think, one of the challenges that I came across. And I put myself out there to, get to understand what it takes to really parent. And in this case, a 10-year-old and not a 1 or a 2-year-old child.
Okay, interesting. And for you, Grace, meeting this guy who's taking you in with a package, there is somebody who's saying when they tried to do what you're in, like get into a blended family, the skeletons came out of the closet. Did that happen for you?
No, because the thing with Edwin and I is that we started out as childhood friends. So I used to have a crush on him growing up. But then now when we grew up, everyone went their separate ways. So he knew my story because we raised in the same neighborhood. So he knew I really had a child. And even as I dated other men before Edwin, I had never hid my child. I would say my name is Grace, and over just being Grace, I'm a mother too. And I say my daughter's name and her age. But the thing is, I kept them away from her. So my dating relationship with the men I dated was never to introduce her or rope her in immediately. I started first of all to vet who you are, because whoever you associate yourself with, is some way they have an effect on your child as well. So I never hid my child at any particular moment. I'm like, she's here. There's only so much hiding you can do anyway, because either at times a guy can call you or text you and they hear someone calling you in the background, "Mommy!" I mean, how do you navigate around that? Yeah. So I was very open about my status as a single mom, and yeah, I boldly walked into it.
And did the father of the child ever come up when they heard you were getting married to somebody else?
Not at all, he didn't.
Okay, and I asked that question because somebody said that's what happened in their case. And Jackie, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you can have all the good intention, but somehow the support system or society around you won't let this happen. Either the father of the child comes in and says, no, these are the boundaries, this is my child, as Maureen was saying. So when does it become, this is my choice, this is my child, and I will go ahead and do this as per what I believe is good for her or him?
Okay. First, I must commend Grace and the husband for the path they've taken and the good work they're doing. I also wanted to put a disclaimer. There are men or women who will tell you, because of your package, I'm not going to get married to you. That is okay. Allow them to choose. Allow them to choose whether they want to be with you and the child or they do not. In fact, that is a better person than the person who pretends, I'm okay with your child, and then they end up frustrating your child. So don't feel bad because somebody said, you know what, for me, because you have a child, it's not going to work. That is a better person than the person who pretends that it's going to work. Yeah, and I think everybody has a...
That's very good. So given your experience so far, is our offering what you want to go with going forward? Ama, do you think there's something else that unaona tunafaa kurekebisha?
As for me, I think I'm ready to to go on with you people. Yeah.
Okay. And any people you've referred to Stawi, kwa chama, kwa rafiki?
Yes. I introduced one lady, a friend of mine. Yes. And she also took her alone. Yes. And she told me she was so happy because she had nothing even in her house to feed the family. Yeah.
I know. Corona imechapa watu vi serious sana. You know, one of the things zenye tunakuja kugundua ni sasa zile watu wezi kutana. You can't share ideas. Kama mwezi share ideas, unaweza kapata you know something but you don't know it. Kama mbeleni, ukienda Safrata sahii ukiangalia different businesses that are out there. Ama ukiangalia watu wanataka kuanza biashara. Wote wanaogopa juu ya corona. Watu wanaenda wanaomba marafiki zao hela hawalipi. So deni imekuwa kitu watu walipi. Unapata mtu anaenda kwa banka anaomba deni lakini hana chochote. Hako registered, hakuna mtu anamfahamu and they don't pay loans. Kwa watu kama hao, unaweza kawaambia nini from your experience with the money that ukapata na ukasema hii inaweza kanipelekesha mpaka hapa? Because you are not greedy. Au kwa ukasema nataka hii yote afu kimbie. Ulianza pole tu. Watu kama unaweza waambia nini?
Ningewaambia ni vyema kulipa deni. Wakati unapoomba unakuwa na shida. Kwa hivyo shida inapomalizika usisahau kurudisha kule ambapo uliomba. Na hiyo ndio ilifanya kwamba nikaweza kuandika hiyo email. Niwaeleze ya kwamba pesa zenyu bado najua niko nazo. Lakini nitatimiza ahadi. Ni lazima nitamalizia.
Any plans you have for the school? Wakifungua shule sasa kwa kila mtu?
Saa hizi. Najua nitarudi kule Stawi. Bado tunahitaji
some assistance.
Yeah. Tunahitaji pesa. We don't have enough.
Yes.
Yeah, we need money so that to run the school. Yeah.
Okay. That is very good to know.
A very informative conversation there on digital loans, which are critical in starting businesses, whether small or big. That facility is there for you, courtesy of NCBA Bank and other banks who came together to put together Stawi. Well, at this point, we call it a day, but tomorrow we focus on the cost of doing business in Kenya. Truth is, we are living in tough economic times, especially in the face of a pandemic, and businesses are struggling to stay afloat, and the job market seems to be shrinking on a daily. Now, with calls to be your own boss, what exactly does it entail to start a business in this country and stay afloat? Well, join Joseph Warungu for more. See you then.